The lid opens, okay, what else? The lid opens. The green part can be taken out. Okay. So plastic thing, green part can be taken out. What do I notice about the plastic thing? There's holes in it. What does that remind us of? Something you might find in a kitchen that has holes in it. There's a few different things. Like I could, when I make pasta.
Strainer.
Strainer, good. So strainer, reminds of a strainer. So what does that mean is going to happen with the holes? It's going to filter something out. Okay, cool. All right, and then inside, I have what on the inside of the white part? Is it like just smooth in there, or?
I mean, it's smooth, but there's like the spots for this to plug into it.
Perfect. So I do have spots for this to actually be able to click in. Okay, cool. So we need to remember that for later. Okay. So this can go into this. This whole thing is called a Fecalyzer. The green part is called an insert, because I insert it into that. Okay. All right. So we're gonna take a look at our FFA rubric. Remember how I talked about we have the competitions in FFA?
Yeah.
We have a vet science competition. One of those skills of that competition is a fecal flotation. So I will teach you the way of FFA. This is not always the way that's going to happen in your industry though. So we'll use in the clinic that I work at, that Mrs. Ritter and I work at, we use a centrifuge. And so we use that motion of the centrifuge to like suck all the large particles out versus the fecalizers. These are great though for some clinics to just be able to send home with their clients, be like, hey, put some poop in this and bring it back to us. Okay. All right. So that's the fecalizer. So what is our first step of our FFA rubric?
A 4 teaspoon of feces and put it in.
All right. So I have to take a 1/4 teaspoon of feces and I put it in there. So does that, like, I have my thing? Am I, yeah? Should I just put it?
Insert out?
I need to take the insert out first. Absolutely. So I'm going to take the insert out, then I'm going to put in the 1/4 teaspoon of feces. I'm going to try not to get litter in it, right? And I'm just going to eyeball it. The more liquidy of stool you have, the more stool you want, because then you have to account for like water. Right? Does that make sense? So I want more of the material in the particle. But why am I even doing this? Why do I need to collect poop? What do I look for in an animal? Unfortunately, you're not going to find it on a paper. Have you guys ever had to send in a poop sample for your animal? No? What can some animals get when they're puppies? Parasites. Worms, right? So worms are parasites. So what we'll do with the poop is that the eggs will be shed out in the feces. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to see if there's any eggs then in this poop. So we have, in order to do that, we have a special solution that we're going to use that allows those eggs to float to the top of the water. You guys ever gone to the ocean or like a saltwater pool? So like, do you have to put a lot of effort to swim? Not really, like you're really buoyant, yeah? So versus like fresh water where you're gonna sink, or you have to put more effort into treading that water. So think of this as almost like salt water, but it's just different. So it's gonna cause those eggs to float to the top of the water. All right, so that's the solution we're looking for eggs. So now I've got it in here. I removed the insert and I put in a 1/4 teaspoon. So in my notebooks, I have fecal flotation. Flotation with Fecalyzer. How am I going to say that first step? What am I going to write?
First say like you're gonna take the insert out.
Okay. Yeah? So, alright, so remove insert. Do I need another step, or can I say remove insert and place a quarter teaspoon of feces?
I would say like put place.
Okay, so it can all be in one step?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Alright, so remove insert. So the important thing in here is that I'm removing the insert and it's a quarter teaspoon. So I need to remember that it's a quarter teaspoon. And you can write that in however your words are going to remember it. So I remove the insert, I place a quarter teaspoon of feces in the Fecalyzer. And you're going to hear us use that term fecal, right? When I'm talking fecal, I'm talking about the poop within something. So this is a fecal flotation, I'm floating the feces. I'm not going to be like, hey, pass me the fecal. Grammatically, that's not correct. I'm going to say, hey, pass me the feces. Yeah, so just make sure it is a fecal solution, it's a fecal flotation, but it's all about the feces. All right, so step number 2. All right, so, come on, brightness. All right, so student added enough flotation solution to fill Fecalyzer about half full. Do we want to see it, or do we think we can write it? See it first, or just write it? See it first? Okay, cool. So I need to, I'll leave that up. Mrs. Ritter, can you check the binder with all the orange papers and see if there's a fecal solution paper that's white? There should be somewhere. Alright. So I'm going to add enough flotation solution. Now in your thing, is there any indicator of where halfway might be? Or do I just have to eyeball it? I just have to eyeball it. Okay. Alright, so here's my fecal solution. This particular brand is called Fecamed. There's 2 different types of solutions they use. So this solution will get all of the eggs to be able to float to the top, but the most common ones will float to the top because the density of eggs are different. Yeah, but this should work on most of them. Red cap. Red cap is always on unless I'm actively using it. As soon as I'm done actively using it, I'm going to cap it. You're going to see, and I'm going to show you guys on the bottles, there's like all this weird stuff. What does it look like? Yeah. What do you think? Does it remind you of anything you've seen before?
They look like they look like those like flavorings you put on snow cones.
Flavorings on snow cones! I could see that. And what is the snow, like what does the ice look like? What is ice?
Ice from water.
Uh-huh. What is ice though? Like it's frozen. What shape is it? Cube. Starts with a C. Ends in an A-L. Yeah, it could be cuboidal. It crystallizes. So what you're seeing is, no, that's fine, because I didn't even think about cuboidal. I'm glad your brain went there. So what you're seeing is crystals. So this solution, when it's out, it will start to crystallize. So if I open this and I just leave it set, the solution will all start to crystallize. No go, Mrs. Ritter?
No.
And then it'll ruin the whole solution. Okay? Alright, so boom, I have my fecal flotation, I have my fecalizer, I've got my fecal solution. I'm gonna uncap. Now see how I've got some poop wedged on the side? I'm not going to be like, oh, thanks. I'm gonna be like super like, and I'm gonna squeeze the bottle. Yeah, and then the force from me squeezing is gonna help that poop go to the bottom. Now, where am I gonna put the bottle tip in relation to this fecalizer? Am I gonna be like all up in there? Or away? Like above or in? What happens when I get really close? I might touch the poop, but if I touch the poop, what happens to this? It's contaminated, right? So I need to make sure I hold it up high enough. See, and I'm just squeezing, and I got halfway. Go to the halfway, right? So it's halfway. This is a little bit more than halfway, so this is right. So about halfway. Yep, it's in there. Cool. All right. Hello. Okay. So I'm about halfway up.
It is not. She is teaching the class.
So halfway. That was the next step, right? Feel comfortable being able to write it down now?
Okay, will do.
Okay, cool. All right.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
I didn't do the thing. Sybil?
No.
Oh, okay, good. All right, cool. All right, I didn't do the. My pen. All right, so what are we gonna write down?
Fill the fecalizer halfway with solution.
Cool. All right. What kind of solution are you using? Fecal solution. I just want to make sure, right, that I know it's not water. Whoop. Specifically my fecal solution. Specifically my fecal solution. Yeah. All right. Oh. Alright. Boom, boom, boom. Good? So that was step 2. We still are step 2. Alright, now step 3. Judy, can you read that one?
The student mixed feces into solution until one large fecal particle.
Okay. Alright, so I'm going to mix. How am I going to mix? So here's my pool. It's got my fecalizer, like my fecal solution in it. Did I just... No. Do I cap it and shake it? Is that going to be able to remove all large particles? What do I have available to me? The insert. So here I'm going to place my insert back in, and then I'm going to start mixing. When I mix, this is a super important part when I'm mixing. I'm going down, twisting, up, twist, down, twist, up, twist, down, twist, up, twist, down, twist, up, twist, right? Like you saw those clicky-locky things? That's what we're going to do. We're going to grind it and crush it around that. Okay, so I'm going to go up, down, sideways. Touch the ground. Think of when you're two in his own or something. And then up, down. I want you guys to take yours and do that same motion. So, I'm going to go take that first, push it in, twist it, any chunks, because as I'm breaking this up, we'll try not to do the thing that we did in the last session, which was dump it all over the table. Use the camera part. Whoop. Whoop. Okay. So we're getting rid of, oh, Miss Leslie. I was fine until I did that part. Poop on the table, that's alright. That's why we have disinfect. Alright. This is where Miss Leslie was raised as an animal keeper, so we deal with it in time because of trouble in it. And Mrs. Ritter is raised in a veterinary clinic, and we have to think about zoonotic diseases. And Miss Leslie doesn't think about the fact that if there's a parasite in here, I could get it, and then if I didn't use my employment hats, then I just gave myself some parasites. So, we'll use gloves. Miss Leslie just doesn't think about it. But we should use gloves. Alright, so up, down, sideways, twist. Until there's no large particles left, right? Okay. So how am I going to write that? You guys want a moment to like think, collect, start to write, and then we'll come back together with it? So, mixed species, no large particles. So what are we going to say? Okay. We got it.
Mixed species are using the insert to grind out chunks by using the up, down, sideways, tilting method.
Cool. Alright. So I'm going to say, yeah, unfortunately no.
No?
No.
Doesn't help?
No. Sorry. It's the two different dichotomies of the colors of the back on the paper. Can you close the door there? Yes. Okay. Boom. So I'm gonna say insert. You can keep yours too. So I'm gonna like actually don't place. Place insert into Fecalyzer to grind feces in an up, down, side to side motion, leaving no large particles. That's what I'm going to say. But you can keep how you said it, because you guys both talked about making sure you're grinding it. You talked about the motion of the insert and that you're not leaving any particles. And that's the important things to hit, right? We want to make sure that we know that there's no large particles. We want to make sure that we know how we're going to grind. We want to know that we're putting the insert back in to do that. So that's super fine. All right. Student places insert into Fecalyzer. So we did that then already, right? Do I need to say that again? I think I might need to see what they're talking about. Because, so it says, right, student places insert into Fecalyzer. If I've got, here's my Fecalyzer. Oh look, it's in there. Is it in there? And technically, but what do I have that's in there? Like, what do I see? Where's my insert in the Fecalyzer? Alright, it's not screwed all the way in. So I need to make sure it's screwed all the way in or pushed all the way in. So therefore, so I'm not just going to insert it in, but I'm going to, right? I'm going to make sure that there's no air coming there, I'm gonna make it perfect as much as I can to squeeze that insert into the Fecalyzer so there's no space. Yeah, so I don't want any space. Because the next step, if I read ahead, it says that I'm gonna have to add more Fecalyzer, or more fecal solution into this. And if I add more fecal solution into this and there's a gap, what's gonna happen to my gap? Yeah, the solution will come out of that gap. We wanna make sure it's sealed. Some of your feces is gonna be harder to seal than others, depending on what animal it is and depending on what it's eating. Because if I have a horse or donkey, what do horses and donkeys eat? What do they eat on the fields? Grasses. And grass doesn't break down. So there could be chunks of grass in here, which then would make it really difficult to be able to push that all the way down. Okay. All right, so I'm going to push that all the way down. Let's add that to our steps. How do I want to say that? Can I just say push insert until seal's made, push insert so no gap is remaining? Okay. So push insert into Fecalyzer so no gap remains. Now you guys know why I shot on the board. Quinn, what's the next one?
The student filled the vial with a molar solution until there is a visible meniscus at the top.
Good. So meniscus. Man, that word meniscus. That's a weird word. You guys heard of a meniscus before? What, do you remember what it is?
Yeah, I can't remember if it's like when the water is like scooping like this or if it's like this.
Good. So it is. It's a water scoop. So it's either divot down. We've heard of that in what instrument we're using? It is a cylinder. Called a graduated cylinder. Yep. So the graduated cylinders have a meniscus, and you're supposed to read at the bottom of that meniscus, right? That's how you read that. So so that would be a concave meniscus. We want a convex meniscus. So we want a dome-shaped meniscus. So, because the idea is we're going to take this cover slip, right? We want all those eggs to float to the top, right? Well, if I have all these eggs float to the top, and I'm going to create a downward dome, am I going to get anything on this slip cover if I slide it on top of here? No. So I need a convex dome, so that way the liquid can touch the slip cover later. All right, this is what we're going to do. We're going to try it and see how it works, okay? Okay. I'm going to do it over yonder on the LCD projector. I'm going to try not to get poop all over. We're going to try to hopefully it looks right. All right. Create a dome. When I create this dome, I'm going to be confident and I'm going to be secure. I'll just squeeze, right? Because if I go drop, 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 what's going to happen to my puddle? What happens in a puddle when you drop water in it?
Just like settles.
It settles and there's ripples, right? Okay. So what I'm doing, I'm using physics. To create this dome, I'm going to use physics. I'm going to use surface tension of the water. The water particles will be like hugging each other. They're going to want to keep its shape. So that's why you guys can fill up bottles and you can get that and you can like walk really carefully and it's not quite over the edge and it doesn't spill, it's surface tension. So we're gonna use that to our to our advantage. So I uncap my Fecamen. I dip, and I'm gonna start going. I don't like that there's an air bubble right there, but it is what it is. So you can see how there's that reflective dome. It's a little baby meniscus, but it's there. See. I'm gonna try not to break it. I don't know which way it is right now. Where am I? That's that. Zoom out. There it is. Ah! So you see how there's like this bubble right there? I don't see the green because there's a bubble right there. Okay? So that's where your meniscus is at. See if I can move it without breaking. Whoop, whoop. Because it was in hiding room. Alright. And then meniscus. Alright, so there's a dome. It's a baby dome, but it's still a dome. So it will count. Alright. So how are we gonna write that in our notes? It says the student filled the vial with more solution until there was a visible meniscus at top. Can I just put that? Like, does that work? If that works, that works. I don't know. That's okay. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So let's see, we're gonna fill. With vial with fecal solution until now I want a good sized dome. The larger the dome, the more liquid's at the top, which then allows me when I put my slip cover on to be able to have more of that surface area and cover more of that slip cover. So I'm going to fill that vial with the fecal solution until the meniscus or the dome is formed. Easy way for me that I remember how to spell meniscus is just men is cuss. Right? That's just break it down. Just men is cuss. That totally works. Okay. Alright. Now we are going to place the cover slip on top of the Fecalyzer. Okay? So I have my cover slip. Whenever we hold a cover slip, we always hold it, any cover slip or microscope slide, you always hold on the sides. Never, ever, ever in the middle. Because what's going to happen if I touch something in the middle of it? What do I leave with my fingers? Fingerprints. And I don't want fingerprints on a microscope slide because I need to be able to see it. Okay? So I'm going to take it, I'm going to put it perfectly straight. And then just over my meniscus, what I'm going to do?
Place the slide.
Just drop it. Yeah, I'm going to place the slip cover. There's no, like, I can't break it. A lot of times we shake because we get really nervous. The goal is to drop it. You really can't drop it wrong, right? As long as you're over it, I'm over, I let go, whoop, I drop it. That's all I need to do. That's what I want to do. And it is going to break the meniscus. And it's supposed to. So then you'll be able to see I have no air bubbles, right? See how that's perfect? There's no air bubbles, so that's what I want. That's how I know I had a good meniscus, because I don't have any air bubbles left, and I can see that it's all on the top of that. There's also you can kind of see a little bit right here. Right here, it's got the brown, because that's the feces. That's the water that's over the slide, or over the slipcover, versus right here, it's still green. So that's how I know that the water didn't make it over that edge, which is okay. It's fine. All right. So now that is, I placed my slipcover. So let's go ahead and add that to our steps. I keep leaving my pen. Yeah. So 6. Am I satisfied with place cover slip on top of the Fecalyzer?
Yeah.
Do I want to be specific on the angle in which I placed it? Because I could place it any which way, right?
Right.
Okay, so I'm going to make sure that I'm going to just place it. I'm going to drop straight. Oh, and then Miss Leslie messed up. What am I dropping straight onto meniscus? Cover slip. Okay. So I'm going to drop the cover slip straight onto the meniscus. Next one's easy. This is where like I'm cooking. So I get to do what? Just gonna wait. I'm setting it and forgetting it. Alright, so I'm going to leave or set aside for 10 minutes. I don't want to go longer than 10 minutes because remember that crystallization is going to start to happen. So I want to minimize that or reduce the risk and chance of that. So I'm going to make sure that I just set it aside for just 10 minutes. And then the last thing I'm going to do is carefully remove the cover slip without tilting it and place it on a microscope slide. Why do you think I need to do it without tilting?
Because it's a solution, it could like run off of the.
Yeah, it can run off. And what's going to run off? What?
Particles we need to look at.
Right, my particles I need to look at, right? If I got any eggs in there, all of my hard work is going to go right back in that Fecalyzer. So I need to make sure that I don't ruin my hard work and effort. So I'm going to have my slide here. You guys put a phone cover on, a screen protector? Yeah, so what do you do with a screen protector? When you put a screen protector on your phone, how do you do it? Do I just drop it?
No, you kind of like start like from the top and like push down. You see, like,
So what do I call this? If my left hand is the screen protector, I don't just drop it, I put it at an angle. So I'm going to do the same thing when I make my microscope slide for my fecal flotation. So I'm going to come straight up, I'm going to put it at an angle, and I'm going to drop it. Do you want to see this on the Elmo?
Yeah.
Whoop. Whoop. Okay. So some things that I'm going to look for. You know how like your screen cover has that adhesive?
Yeah.
So I get that adhesive on there. So instead of adhesive on my slide, what do I have on my slide? My slip cover. What does my slip cover have on it? The what? The particles, and the particles are floating in a what's all solid, liquid, or gas is it floating in? Liquid. So instead of an adhesive, I'm using the liquid as that adhesive. That's what I'm looking for. Okay? So I'm gonna come over here, I'm gonna pick it up straight on the sides. So my fingers come sideways, I'm gonna grab the edges, I go whoop, straight up. See how there's a little puddle that's kind of moving around? I'm gonna put that on my down angle. Now I've got it all to the side. That's like, right, like that's that adhesive part. I'm gonna tap it, it expands, and then I drop. Look, Ma, almost no air bubbles. There's a dirtiness to it, but that's from the slide. But otherwise, all of that, there's no air in it. There's some particles, but otherwise we're good. We're perfect. Okay, then to clean it up, all I need to do is cap this, and then I can throw this out. Okay. All right, so how am I gonna write that on my steps? So I set it for 10 minutes and then I came back and I created a slide. How did I create that slide? What did I do?
Well, first you took the cover slip straight up.
Okay. Do I want to make a second step or do I want to keep it all in the same step?
Yeah, keep it all the same.
Okay, so I remove the cover slip straight up. Then what did I do?
And you like put it on a slide in a diagonal motion.
Okay, what is a, instead of diagonal, can I just get rid of the die part? And call it an
Angle.
angle. Okay. All right. It's really ideally a 45-degree angle, but I'm not, you don't need to know that. But if you want to be real specific, it's at about a 45-degree angle. And then we can release it. Right, so remove cover slip straight up, place cover slip on slide at a 45-degree angle and release. All right. You did it, right? Okay, you're writing that. We are gonna look at it now. You're all good here? Now, Mrs. Ritter, we can kill the light if you want to. Alright, so now when I'm looking into a microscope, and you guys have looked into microscopes before? Yes? No, maybe so? Okay, cool. So when I'm looking into the scope, I'm going to start at a coarse focus, right, the big knobs. So I start with the big knobs to kind of see where I'm at. Once I get, and even before I even look inside of the eyepiece, I'm cheating because I can see particles on my slide. So I'm gonna match up and be like, okay, where's the center of my slide? Where's my particles? I'm like, oh, cool, I can see that. You also always start on the farthest away objective or the shortest objective, the red ones. Okay, now that I'm here, now I'm going to crank it into focus. Okay, so I can see some of these particles. And I want to zoom in a little bit more because I'm not necessarily going to be able to see everything. Alright, so right now I'm focusing on kind of the brown tan things, yeah? 1, 2, 3. Okay. Now I'm going to zoom in again, so I change my objective lens. I hear a click. Ah! Where did everything go? This is where I use my fine focus if I can. The baby mouse. Here, now I have it back in focus. And then what I want to do is just kind of survey the scene. So I'm going to go up, down, and sideways. Here's food particles. So I'm going to go up as much as I can. Still kind of just surveying the situation, zooming in and out. I'm looking for any ova, I'm looking for anything that might just stand out to me. As a vet assistant, you guys won't be looking at the microscope slides, right? You'll just be making it. And then I want to make sure I move around everything. Nothing fun, just food particles. Alright. Anything to add, Mrs. Ritter?
No.
Alright, cool. So then that is our fecal flotation.